everyone, welcome to my July reading wrap-up. July was a good month for me. I read 13 books. It wasn't a good month overall, but it was a good reading month. And, you don't care. You don't care about anything other than books here. Why am I. Okay, let's just go right into it. I have my list here. The first one I read was Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie. It's the next one in the Poirot series. It's about this old lady who dies without a will. And naturally, by law, her niece gets all the money. Her niece was supposed to get married to this boy who was like this woman's husband's son or something like that. They're like not related by blood, but they grew up together. He falls in love with another girl when they come to the funeral and they break off the wedding, but then that girl dies. And Poirot gets called to the case because they're sure it was clearly murder. I gave it 4 stars. As I do to pretty much all of my Agatha Christie experiences. They all get high ratings from me. The next books I read for the Summerween Readathon that was hosted by Gabby. I'm so grateful for that readathon because it literally got me out of a reading slump and it was so much fun. I cannot stop thinking about it. I read so many good books. The first one I read was The Power of the Dark Crystal. Is the first tome of the Power of the Dark Crystal trilogy. It's a graphic novel. It's beautiful. This is the continuation of the story of the movie, The Dark Crystal, the Jim Henson one. And it's lovely. If you like The Dark Crystal, I highly recommend that you read these graphic novels. The next one was, here it is. The next one was A Dowry of Blood. This is 5 stars for me. I loved it so much. I talked about it non-stop in the vlog, the Summerween vlog. This is about Dracula's brides and their lives with him through the ages and what happens to them. This is about love and abuse and toxic relationships and good relationships. It was incredibly beautiful. It made me so incredibly happy. I can't stop thinking about it and I need more books like this in my life. The next one, also Goodreads counts this as a separate book, but there was a short story in here called An Encore of Roses, which I don't count it as a separate book. It's 20 pages. This was, somebody's talking really loudly outside and you can probably hear all of it. This was initially a short story sent out in a newsletter by S.T. Gibson, but now it's in this new edition, the cover of which I hate. Next one I read for the readathon is You've Lost a Lot of Blood by Eric LaRocca. I gave it 4 stars. It was really interesting and very innovative for me. You've Lost a Lot of Blood is the title of a novella that the main character, the killer in this book, has written. And in that story, there is a video game called You've Lost a Lot of Blood. So it's like a 3-layered You've Lost a Lot of Blood. It was really interesting. I kind of liked the novella within the book more than the actual book, but I really enjoyed it and I think I'm going to read more Eric LaRocca in the future. The next one I read, Dark and Shallow Lies by Ginny Myers Saying. I gave this 4 stars. This is a young adult thriller about a girl who she was born in the summer with all of these other kids. There were 10 of them and they were called the Summer Children. They live in this little town in Louisiana and all the people there have some kind of psychic power, different kinds. And all of these kids also have psychic power. And her best friend, she lives in another town, in another state with her father, but comes there for the summers. And one year, during the winter, her best friend disappears. And when she comes home for the summer, she needs to figure out what happened to her. This was really good. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the atmosphere of the bayou and the interactions between the teenagers. And yeah, it was overall a really good, spooky thriller. And I don't read a lot of young adult thrillers, but this was really good. The next one for the readathon was Wait Till Helen Comes, a ghost story by Mary Downing Hahn. I forgot. This is supposedly like a childhood classic for horror. I've never read this author before. I first heard Lee Nicole mention this book for the first time. And my best friend Sam also loves this author's books as well. So I got to talk to my best friend about this book. It was really good. It's about a family that they have 2 kids and it's mother and father, they married and mom has 2 kids and the dad has 1 kid. And they don't get along. The kids don't get along. And they move to a house that used to be an old church. There's a cemetery behind the house and something spooky starts to happen. The little girl, the man's daughter, she starts to say that she made friends with a ghost in the cemetery, and when Helen comes, they're all gonna be sorry that they were mean to her. This is pretty spooky, and I really liked the ending. The next one was A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I really enjoyed it and I think about it a lot, but I still gave it 3 stars. It wasn't as punchy for me as Hollow Places was, but I still really loved it so much that I wanted to read another T. Kingfisher immediately. This is about a woman who comes to her late grandmother's house to help her mom, who is staying at the house. And when she comes, she notices that her mom started redoing the house in all of these ways that her grandmother, who was a biatch, used to love. Like, she hangs these paintings and she repainted the walls and completely changed everything to the way her mom used to love. She like started saying grace because that's what the late grandmother used to do. And something strange starts to happen. Things are in the garden, there are all these roses, and strange things are happening. It was pretty spooky and strange, but just 3 stars for me. It was alright though. And then the next one, this was when the readathon was over, but I wanted another T. Kingfisher novel immediately. So I started The Seventh Bride by T. Kingfisher. It's an older book by them. It was first published in 2015. And this one I gave 4 stars. It's like more of a traditional fairy tale. It's about a girl she's a miller's daughter, and she gets propositioned by this duke to get married. And when she gets to his castle for the marriage day, it turns out that he already has 6 other different wives that all live with him in the castle. There's magic, he is a sorcerer, and this young girl needs to figure out what is happening in the castle and figure out a way not to marry him. It was really good. It was very whimsical fantasy, but also dark, and I really, really enjoyed it. It reminded me a lot of the Italian fairy tales I used to read as a kid. The next one I read was The Riding Retreat by Julia Bartz, 4 stars. To be honest, I gave it 4 stars, but I'm thinking now that it's more like a 3, because even though it was spooky, it was about writers, it was about an isolated location, it was sapphic, all things I love, all the things that normally make me enjoy a book, it still fell a little flat. I don't know why. I can't explain it. It's about this young woman who is a writer. She had a best friend called Ren, and they broke up over something happened between them, and they are no longer friends, even though they were like that for 8 years. Ren hasn't spoken to her in a year. She's been in a terrible writing block over that. All of their friends abandoned her. Nobody wants to talk to her. And then she gets invited to this writing retreat by, I don't remember the name of this elusive writer who is her and Ren's favorite writer. And she gets into a place at the retreat that was like dropped out at the last moment, and her writer friend gets her the place. And when she comes there, before she goes there, it turns out that Ren is going to be there too. When she comes there, strange things start to happen. What is the writing retreat about? And, you know, it was very high stakes. Then the next book that I had initially planned for the Summer Wind Readathon, but I didn't get to it then and I decided to read it anyway, is The Prince of Mist by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is the first one in a series, but I looked up the other books and they are not connected by plot other than by the Prince of Mist, the titular character who is the villain of the story. To be honest, I don't think I'm going to read the next books in the series because I loved the characters in this so much. I want 2 more books about the characters in this specific book. But overall, it was good. 4 stars. It was very fun. It's about this family. The father is a clockmaker. He's this very eccentric man. They have 3 children, and during the war, it's not like specified where it's happening, but during World War II, they decide to leave the city and go live in the country somewhere near the seaside to escape from the war. And as soon as they come there, strange things start to happen. The boy of the family, he meets another boy in the town, they become friends, they start to dive to this ship that's been sunk off the coast, and there are a lot of interesting characters here, a lot of interesting elements, but I just want more of these specific characters in the next books, and unfortunately I'm not gonna get that. The series is pretty old, this is his first book, so yeah. I really liked it. Then the next one is The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. I gave this 3 stars. I liked it more than A House with Good Bones. It was pretty spooky as well. T. Kingfisher has this thing in their books where the evil, the strange, the spooky thing that's happening is very often something unexplained, something very alien and cosmic, and we don't get any explanation. And I like that. I like the fact that you need to piece the story together by pieces to figure out what is going on. And it was like that here. This young woman is asked by her father to go to her grandmother's house, who has died. I love that. I love that trope. A grandmother has died, you need to clear out her house. She goes there, and the house is like in the middle of nowhere. It's in a town, but it's in the woods, like a little bit away from the town. She goes there with her dog and starts to clean out the house, but like strange things are happening at night. She can see these deer running around at night. She finds these weird stones, and then spooky things start to happen in the house, and she's very afraid. She makes friends with these people that are like the hippie commune that live next door. She makes friends with them, and they help her figure out what happens. I also like that. I like it when in horror stories the main character is allied with other people. Stephen King does that a lot, where it's not just like they're investigating and going through all of it on their own and nobody believes them. They have allies, they have friends helping them out. And I enjoyed it. It was 3 stars, but I do really love T.K. Fisher's book. I'm gonna keep picking them up. The next one I finished is, I clicked off. Horrid by Katrina Leno. I gave it 3 stars as well, and the more I think about it, the more I think it's probably more like 2 stars. Because it was a very promising beginning, promising middle, but the ending, look, the ending was kind of like an open ending. It just stopped, and I felt like I needed more of a conclusion or another 50 pages of action, and I love an open ending. I love it when you need to transcribe what you have just read into further plot in your head. But in this book, it just something was missing. It's about a girl and her mom who moved to the dead grandmother's house after this girl's father dies, I don't remember, a heart attack or something. And they have to go and live in the dead grandmother's house because they can't afford their rent or anything like that anymore. They just need to go there for a while until they can get back on their feet. They go there, she goes to a new school, she meets these people, but the house seems to be haunted. Like, she finds things and things go bump in the night. There are roses in the garden again, and something strange is going on with the roses. It had a lot of very interesting elements, but I feel like it was just unfinished. I feel like it needed another go of edits, you know? But other than that, you know, I enjoyed reading it, and I'm glad I read it because I wanted to read it since it came out in 2020. And the last one I read is The Secret of Poppy Ridge Cove by Remy London. It's a cozy mystery. I read it on script because I ran out of, like, most of the audiobooks that I could read, so I had only the recommended ones, and this was one of them. And 2 stars. It was like, it wanted to be a cozy mystery, but it was more of a romance, a little bit next to a cozy mystery. And the mystery element, while it was good and it was a little spooky, the resolve of it was kind of just like, that was it? You know, like, I understand that it's a cozy mystery and there's not going to be an axe murder or something, you know, or a ghost or anything like that. Okay, so it's about a woman who goes on a hike with her boyfriend and her friend and his friend who they have set up on a blind date. And on this hike, in the like redwood forest, they find this house, the Poppy Ridge mansion or something. And it's beautiful, it's very old, but it's kind of dilapidated, and she falls in love with it and she immediately wants to buy it, but she obviously can't afford it because it costs $2 million. And also, on the porch of the house, they find a bunch of dead, decapitated animals, like wildlife, what have you. And she's still like, I want to buy this house. You know, whatever this is, we can resolve this. Like, how do you know that? How do you, like, if I saw something like that, I would have needed therapy. I would have run as far as I can see. I wouldn't have bought the house. And then the next, like, day or week, she gets a letter from an aunt she didn't know existed, who died and left her an inheritance. And the money that she has left her is just about enough to buy the house. So that's what she decides to do. And all throughout the book, I was just thinking, are you on one? What is wrong with you? Like, do you know, like in horror films, there's always this stupid woman that goes in her underwear into the basement to check out what the noise was? She felt to me like that. Like, when her boyfriend was talking to her about why she shouldn't buy the house, he was talking about it more from a, like a, what is it? Why are you growling? From more of a practical point of view, that she can't afford it, that, she doesn't know if the B&B idea will blow up. But my first argument would have been, there were decapitated animals on the porch. Someone is doing it. It's not like a fox is decapitating other animals. So and it's a series, and there's like 10 books in the series, so I'm not gonna read the rest. It was fine. It was mildly entertaining while I read it, but other than that, I don't really care. And that's my 13 books of July. That was a pretty good reading month for me. Oh, I forgot to mention one. I started this, and I think I'm gonna soft DNF it. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I am so sad about this. I wanted to love it so much. It's about video games. It's about making a video game. I love video games. It's my second favorite thing after books in the world. Like, I love video games. I've been playing them since I was a little girl. And this is so boring. So boring. Why there's so many words? Why is there 2 paragraphs describing how he borrows a jacket from someone? Just so boring. I got to page 77, and I picked it up yesterday. I sat in my chair on the balcony. I read 1 paragraph, and I just went, nope, I just can't do it. I just cannot. So I'm just gonna put it right here, and maybe I'll come back to it later, or I'll see if I can get my hands on an audiobook. I don't know, but I'm so sad about it. Anyway, tell me how your reading month was. What did you read? What was your favorite book of July? Please like and subscribe and comment. Help the algorithm. Put me up there somewhere. I'll see you in the next one.